take their respective places on the dais. We are equally honored to have with us Professor Balram Singh, who will be joining us online from the USA, and we extend a warm welcome to him as he connects with us virtually for this session. Hello, hello. Welcome back, all of you. We look forward to an engaging and intellectual enriching plenary session. The plenary session forms an important part of the conference, offering us an opportunity to engage with the eminent scholars, gain deeper insights into the diverse dimension of Indian knowledge system. We are grateful for your continued presence and active participation, and we look forward to a stimulating and intellectually enriching session. I now request Professor Deepa S.P. Mathur, the convener and the head of the English department, to kindly extend a warm welcome to Dr. Kshama Kaul, whose scholarly insights will enrich the session. To formally welcome our plenary chair, I kindly invite Dr. Shweta Meena to extend a warm welcome to Professor Rajul Bhargava, who will be chairing this plenary session. Thank you, ma'am. We also extend a warm and cordial welcome to Professor Balram Singh, who is joining us online from the USA for this plenary session. We are grateful to have him for being with us virtually and sharing his invaluable insights with us. And currently, he is in Kerala. He could not make it. We would have loved if he had been here, but we welcome you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm so glad to be able to make it.
As we now begin with this plenary session, it is my privilege to briefly introduce our esteemed chair, Professor Rajul Bhargava, under whose guidance will session be conducted. Following this, we are honored to have Professor Balram Singh, who will be joining, as I told you, online and will present on the topic Effective Delivery of Indian Knowledge System for the Modern Times. Professor Balram Singh, the President, Institute of Advanced Sciences Director and Research Center, Founding Director, Center of Indic Studies, UMASS, Dartmouth President, Prime Bio. Dr. Singh research span neuroticism, vaccines, drug delivery, Ayurvedic biotech, yoga, and consciousness. He has published 15 books, more than 300 research articles, and 15 patents, and delivered 450 plus lectures worldwide. He is editor-in-chief of Vedic Waves and serves on multiple academic and advisory board. Dr. Singh holds a BSc, MSc, MPhil, PhD, and postdoctorate training and has taught at Harvard Medical School. Sir, we are honored to have you with us today. Sir,
Can you
I
hear me,
think you
please?
are.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for making this arrangement, even though it has been difficult for me to to get a right spot to make this presentation. But I am so pleased that you have this session going on effective. I'm speaking on an effective delivery of Indian knowledge system for the modern times. The Indian knowledge system discussion has been going on quite a bit throughout last year, I think. In your perspectives and imperatives is very important. One modern time is this that I'm sitting here in Kerala in a very rural area near in the jungles, and I'm able to connect to you. So that is a modern time. The question is, how can we make the Indian knowledge system um, amenable to this? And so I'm going to speak a little bit different than what normally you may be used to. There is a model that I have created how the universe has been. Indian knowledge system talks about from beginning to end. So how the universe got created. From physics point of view, it's a big bang. From Indian point of view, this is the Akash Tattva or the ether. The ether has its, interestingly, its tanmatra is dhwani or sound. And so it's interesting that physics people also thought about Big Bang, not big splash. So there is a connection of Indian knowledge system. So from Akasa to Prithvi or Earth, it's a very strong scientific basis how this world has evolved. And the creation is done through meditation or realization or Atma Bodh, as they call it, self realization. And then that leads to some systems like Ayurveda. Ayurveda is a science of life or knowledge of life, as it is translated. And it involves all kind of research. So in my introduction, some of my work has been related to Ayurveda that I started working on it for last 20 years or so. And it has been very rewarding. Now, this knowledge of Ayurveda or knowledge of life then gets fragmented into various pieces, which is yuga cycle, planet cycle, season cycle, daily cycle, moment cycle, and life cycle, as they call Ritu Charya, or yuga in case of the long cosmological cycle, or the life cycle, or in our life, it's like we have a dincharya or a daily cycle because there is a physiological change in our body that many times very important for our health. And that then creates all kind of things, including business and science and politics and everything, and ultimately a philosophy. The philosophy that has integrated values in India, particularly of every aspect of life. And even to understand that, we still need to get back to yoga. Uh, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has popularized this throughout the world, where Yoga, International Yoga Day on 21st of June, has really given so much ideas for the rest of the world to think about. And so ultimately, we just go back to understand the universe, what is in Indian knowledge system known as Brahm. So that is this overall thing that I wanted to discuss. But then I want to give you some ideas on Indian knowledge system. Some of you probably already know. There are scriptures or texts that people write in this world for knowledge. There are so many manuscripts are written, and then there is a catalogs of books in this world written. And believe it or not, there are catalogs of catalogs. And believe it or not, India has the largest catalogs of catalogs, largest number of catalogs, which means there is so much things written, and we are probably not um, privy to everything, and we do not have time to understand each one of them. The Indian system starts, the knowledge system starts with the nature. The nature created India as a unique country that no other country can claim. For 71 million years ago, this started its journey of this land, called as India. And 10 million years ago, this got slammed into Asia. And what is known as India, but the result was there was a Himalaya was created. And that's very, very important event for the Indian knowledge system and Indian culture. The nature is there. There is indigenous understanding. There is investigation, and then there is a research. People go back and forth, and that actually, believe it or not, even yoga is in many ways you research yourself, and then create a scientific understanding, and then have expression of that, or you may have translation of that. That's the process of Indian knowledge system has been going on for eternity, and that is very scientific culture of India. Indian constitution, even though it is 99% copy of outside world, whether it's Irish, American, British, other countries, as was created when India became independent. But it does have one thing, which is in my favor, which is to say it's Article 51A says it is one of the fundamental duties. It is shall be the duty of every citizen of India to develop the scientific temper, humanism, and the spirit of inquiry and reform. No other country has a constitution which says this. So it gives us wonderful, it gives me sometimes a little bit leverage to I can say certain things because being a scientist or scientific in approach, we can question almost anything and we can prove almost anything. We don't need to get anybody's approval for this. Natural diversity in India, there are 91,000 animal species, 48,000 plant species. It has only 2% of land, but 8% of plant species. There are 68,000 jatis. People misunderstand that to caste, and I may get some comment on that. But there are a number of political parties, 2,598, with 8 national parties, 52 state parties, and 2,538 unrecognized parties. So that's the diversity, the nature of India. Article 1 clearly states that India is a union of states rather than federation of states. Many times people misunderstand. America is federation of states. Everybody decided to join hands. But in India, the central government decided to have different states. And so there is a difference in political difference how India operates compared to United States. And the reason I say this is because sometimes when we copy democracy or constitutions of different countries, and then when we try to practice it, there is a natural difference and there is a social difference in them. Now, one way to approach this is that everybody wants to have freedom, everybody wants to have independence, everybody wants to have equality. But the difference in Indian knowledge system, when you use the Indian knowledge system to define that, is very different. And its origin is, like I said, in the meditation and yoga. Yoga has been defined by Patanjali Yoga Sutra as Chitta Vritti Nirodha, or you have to still your mind. I do not have time today, but someday I will in the future. I'm working on an article where we are connecting the quantum tunneling effect in which got Nobel Prize this year for physics, to connect it to the mind, how the mind is able to transcend information. And there are social, there are physical, there are philosophical reason to do that. But so the chitta vritti nirodha is very important. You have to still your mind, and then you have to go through troubles or struggles. That's called tapasya. And during that struggle, you have to study yourself. Can you imagine that? As a teachers or professors, we have to take troubles and then study ourselves, not just the students, to see how we are behaving. Then we can know ourselves. Then we know what is self-knowledge, what is swadharma, what is my nature. And my nature or swabhav, uh, then we know in a very detached way. We understand ourselves, we study ourselves in this process. And when we are in established in ourself, that is called swasth, or the health, as people will say. So the health is defined very differently from Indian perspective. It's not the loss of pain. Actually, we take pain. Mothers take pain, otherwise there won't be any child. So with the whole idea of swasth in Indian point of view is very different. You need to know and you need to establish yourself. Then only you can do some work that will be objective. And objectivity is very important part of science. And once you have that, then you can talk about equality. Before that, you cannot talk about equality. You cannot be different people and different work and then say, oh, I'm equal. Then you can have equal right. And then you will get whatever, after you do that kind of work, whatever fruits you will get, that will be appropriate for you. So we are to carry out our duty without worrying about the fruits of action. Karmande vadhikaraste ma phalesu kadachan. That is really the meaning of it. And again, like I said, it is, I'm talking here scientifically, at least approach is scientific. And when we look at that from point of view, our only Indian knowledge system comes only if we do our responsibility, and that's it, nothing else. And everybody is equal at that point. Um, Actually, even God is defined like that in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, where it says that when you are away from rag and dves and pap and punya, or the karma phala, then you take the status of God. And at that point, everybody is equal. If you are God, I'm God, and everybody else is God. Eko aham bahusyami, as they say. That is very important part. So this is the approach. Now the real question is how to deliver it, how to deliver this. You cannot deliver it by um, just by talking about it, writing books on it. I collaborated with a education professor, Maureen Hall, and we wrote a paper where I used to teach a class at the University of Massachusetts on yoga, which is accepted as a science course. And so there you have to have the body, mind's realization and all that. We argued that the teaching approaches that ultimately lead to a scientific understanding of ourselves. And I have done several studies and published them. I had my experience in the classroom was very early on. From my first year, there was a revolt in my class, and I used that difficulty to make a case. I presented seminars of students and for learning. I use similar thing in my biochemistry lab projects where students ask questions and pose questions and answers. Transcribe, very recently I teach a course in JNU where I asked the student to transcribe my lectures. Because in modern time, now I can record my lectures. But the transcription, they had to do a lot of listening to it. Otherwise, they may not listen because I don't know whether they're listening to me. But then they can do this. And not only that, I asked them questions. They had to find fault in my lectures, and then they had to find solution for that fault. So they had to really get involved, integrated. I will come back to some of this idea a little bit later. So I talked to them artificial intelligence versus Ayurvedic intelligence. Ayurvedic means the one I talked about the the whole. I recently have, from the class, actually I have come up with a book. I said Ayurvedic is such a thing, it can almost consider and concern anything and everything. And so, and the first book on Ayurvedic Gali is coming out in next couple of months. Right now, I'm just doing in the proof stage. It's all written by students, not by me. I didn't do Gali to anybody, but the students have created Ayurvedic Gali, and there is so much to learn from that. I hope some of you will get a chance to read the book. Now, today happens to be Basant Panchami. Also, it's the day for Mata Saraswati, and she is the goddess of knowledge. I am a chemist. I try to understand some of these ideas of how people, religious people, do this. In case of India, it is not philosophy; they call it darshan, which means you have to see it. So I try to see it. Now, Mata Saraswati is dressed up in white. Part of the reason is because then if there is anything, is any spot, you can see it. So we have to keep ourselves, our mind very clear. The second thing, she sits on the lotus flower. Lotus flower it originates in dirt and then comes through the water and above the water. So that means you have to leave your gross and subtle elements and become free. The when you are free in air is the freest. So you have to have the free mind. At least these two features. Now, when we do puja to Saraswati, it isn't getting anywhere. This delivery, the Indian knowledge system delivery here is that if you are just doing only puja, it's not getting anywhere. What you need to do is you have to become that. So in chemistry, there is a concept of resonance structures. I have to resonate with you. So if you when we do this Mata Saraswati puja, then we need to resonate. And I just gave you 3-4 examples of her features. We have to be like that. Then the knowledge automatically will come to us, which is what I was talking about, how the mind transcends the knowledge. So the delivery of Indian knowledge system has to be transcendental. It isn't just like, I mean, there is a way you can do by writing books or giving lectures or telling stories, but ultimately, if you are not doing transcending, you're not resonating, it's not going to be perfect. So the delivery has to be where you have to resonate with that. This is a very important concept of chemistry and physics, and I think it matches perfectly with the Indian mind and Indian knowledge system and how we can deliver that. Um, Certain features is very important to know that, for example, yatra nariyasya pujante ramante tatra devata. It is said about ladies that they can create, when they are in good shape, they can create gods. That's what it means here. Yatra nariyasya pujante ramante tatra devata. But then this is not just because somebody happens to be a lady. It has to be at that level that she is worshipped. She has become so good. Like I just gave the example of Mata Saraswati. So she is worshipped because she has the capability to do this. We also have um, another Indian knowledge system, Manusmriti, again Manusmriti says, Upadhyayan Dasacharya, Acharyanam Satam Pita, Sahasrun tu Pitrun Mata Gauruvani Itirichyate. It means the one like me and you, many of you who just read somewhere and then teach something, which is called Upadhyay. But when you have reading and teaching, 10 of those such teachers are equivalent to one acharya, somebody who practices it. And then 100 acharya are 100 such people who can just only uh, who can only do the only practice and then teach by their examples. There are 100 of them are equal to one father. Now, again, these things are just because I'm a father doesn't mean I become like that. I have to be father like that, where I need to be so close to my children that I'm learning from them. And then there are thousand such fathers are equivalent to one mother, because mother is so capable. So, but again, this is only the way to delivery of these knowledge will be if they are putting themselves that high. So that is how the Indian knowledge system works. Actually, they have found in neuroscience that ladies have much faster mind. Their mind works 5 times faster than men. This is neuroscience. So, and there are other features also which will really take you to thousands fold, because there are parallel processing that their mind works. Their mind is right brain, and various things. So this is just a knowledge. I'm not trying to be nice to the ladies. I mean, we all are produced by mothers, but we also have fathers. The point is that this is the system of delivery of the knowledge. This is very important, and we need to value that. We need to highlight that. We need to promote that, so that the Indian knowledge system can move from one generation to next generation. Otherwise, it would not be possible to do. Now, the knowledge system, how the knowledge system goes around, there is deductive knowledge and there is an inductive knowledge. Deductive knowledge in Indian system is known as nigam. It's like put down, given down, it's given out. Agam is taken in. So examples of nigam is holy books of all religion. Agam is yoga, Saiva, local tradition, Ayurveda. All this is Agam because you always observing. And the example of these two examples, these two systems is in the days that today is, I believe it's Friday today. But even there are 7 days. I'm sorry, I've been um, busy. Yeah, Friday today. I'm busy traveling around, so sometimes I don't remember time and day. So, but today is Friday. The reason we have Friday is I just looked up in Britannica. It says it's artificially devised. It's actually related to biblical creation. With they said that let there be light, then there was light, and God was very happy, and that's called Sunday, and like that. But in Indian system is a natural. You look at the moon, and then the shape of the moon tells Shukla Paksh, Krishna Paksh, and actually you can combine all this for the knowledge. You have can combine agam and nigam, and there is nothing wrong with that as long as you understand this is what it is. Now, the system of delivery that we have for knowledge is university. That is not a creation of Indian system. It is very, very difficult to use the university to create the Indian knowledge system or deliver Indian knowledge system the way it is supposed to. It's actually university was created as a body corporate. It's like corporation. I went. I have been to Italy where the first university, Bologna, was there, and there are a lot of cultural things not even followed even today in universities. Universities become so administrative. But anyway, nowadays the liberal meaning of that universal knowledge, college is group of partners. It's the partnership and knowledge economy, union of professors or masters. That's what it was. The college was supposed to be. It was a group of partners. So now you have university, deemed university, institute, college, school, center, department, program. None of them are created from Indian point of view. And then you have visitor, president, chancellor, vice chancellor, provost, rector, dean, chairman, director. None of them are really Indian knowledge system creation. I just want to give you a couple examples. Provost literally means jailer. It means jailer because they give punishment. Vice Chancellor has been translated Kulpati. I think Chancellor has been Kulpati or Upakulpati. The JNU Vice Chancellor, who is a lady, she said, I'm not Pati. So she changed it to Kulguru, which is a great idea, but she has to reach the level of Guru. So we don't have a system that really can deliver these things. You have all these very sophisticated systems. It's created mostly in the Western world. It's not for Indian system, and it will be very difficult to do the system for delivery of the knowledge. Indian knowledge system. It just, I mean, I can challenge almost anybody, discuss, debate about it. You can make modification and you can get there, but usually not. I have now the system is such that I have a good friend of mine who is a historian in University of Massachusetts, Timothy Walker, and he said they used Indian knowledge system. Portuguese, he studied Portuguese history. Portuguese used Ayurvedic products, and they actually even though in the literature, scientific literature, Ayurveda is still considered like some kind of local thing. This as obvious from the searching for science in India's traditional medicine headline. But what he told me that Portuguese marketed Indian medical system, and it's very interesting. They marketed secretly. They did not acknowledge that Indian knowledge system is useful. Actually, they used to get treatment only in the nights. That's what he told me. So that nobody knows that they are somehow not good enough by themselves. But then when they learned about it, they changed. They use the money out of it. I mean, some of you may be knowing Brazil is the only country which is Portuguese speaker in all of America, because they bought Brazil with the money that they created. So this is here. My example is this example is just to show that how the Indian knowledge system has been used to deliver other things, products, and control. India was, many of you probably know this, 1750 or so, it used to give about 25% of GDP of the whole world. And by the time right now it's about maybe less than 4%. But when India became independent, it was like 1%. So they basically have uprooted Indian knowledge system for their benefit, and Indians have basically failed in utilizing their knowledge system. And even over 75 years of independence, it's not anywhere close to where it should be. Colonial people, they have, what do? They take over the territory, introduce their culture, change the language, change the dress, change the food, take away the wealth, and create their, I mean, in this case now that we are still having colonizers system of education. So what socio-economic and political system propagate and justify? And lethargic, it makes people lethargic. In case of India, I'm sorry to say this, that the scholars, the class that can really make the difference is quite lethargic. It's the political class is also quite lethargic. They just borrow it from somewhere, and I think that needs to change. So colonialism is, as an example, is a translation in Sanskrit, Upanivesvad. Colonialism is Upanivesvad. It looks like some kind of Upanishad. At least sounds like that. Those of us who are not that much familiar about it. But even if we go to literal meaning, Nives means investment. What kind of investment any colonizers ever did? Nobody knows. They actually looted the country, not they did investment. So I came up with the idea. I'm also, my introduction also includes that I'm from a village near Ayodhya. So I always use my village rustic knowledge to make some points once in a while. So in villages there are tolias, which is colonies. You might call colonies, defense colony or whatever you call it in Delhi. It's called tolia. So I mean, rather than Bad, I just want to call it tolia khori. This is what they did. And I think the reason I do this because so that, I mean, some of us become cognizant of this. And rather than using their system, we need to create our own. There are ways to do that, how yoga has become an industry, right? $80 billion business of yoga. So, you can use yoga to promote your way of life. This is my daughter, actually. She is a professor at Durham University, but she also does yoga. And she has been on TED Talks and other things about yoga. And so I feel very good. I also tried, you cannot see me here. I tried to to learn from her, but at least I can stand next to her to see, that we can do some yoga. I mean, this is just to make a point that, yoga is a good way of delivering Indian knowledge system. That's in the future. There are some examples. I know my time is, I think, almost running out. Maybe I have a couple more minutes. Please let me know. I will stop whenever my time is up. But I want to say that this is not just my opinion. This has been opinion early on. Again, especially in chemistry, there is a periodic table which has been created, actually, believe it or not, using the Sanskrit, what do you call that, Sabdavali, Varnamala. Using Sanskrit Varnamala, the periodic table was created the way we see it today. And actually, Mendeleev valued so much that he actually even named some of the elements in Sanskrit, like eka aluminum, eka boron, eka silicon, tellurium, eka tantalum, all that, because he was it's such a great way of looking at this. And during the Corona time, there were several names given, the strain names given to Corona, based on the Greek letters. And so in WHO skipped 2 letters, new and C, because of politics. New because it sounded like new, and C is because the Chinese objected to it. So they went to Omicron. After new and C, the next letter was Omicron, and they named it Omicron. Indian scholars, political people, the whole IKS grade, none of them really ever thought about it. That where Chinese were objecting because of their president's name, or see that Indians would have objected that, Om is the whatever, this commonly used as a sacred, but they didn't. Well, I really think that's a good thing that did, because when you chant Om, again, I'm going to skip discussion about it, just making the conclusion. They have done research on it. When you do Om chanting, there is this sequence, you rest and call Om and then rest again, and 15 seconds each. They found that your innate immunity goes up. So Om is such a pronunciation that can help your health. So even something like that is also Indian knowledge system, and that should be promoted and delivered to others. Sanskrit Om is in Hebrew. It's known as Amen or Amin, and Christians, after their sermons, they call it Amen, and Muslims, I have several friends who tell me that they call it Amin. Interestingly, my village name is Guru Om, so I'm very happy about that. So these things, I'm just going to skip some things. That there are some lot of technologies in Indian knowledge system, including particularly about Bhasma. I have been working on it for the last 15 years or so. Bhasma has been kind of banned in America because this has the metals, and they think metals are toxic, which is kind of, they are right, but they don't know the whole process. So I had a PhD student who demonstrated no toxicity at all with the Bhasma, and we have done the mechanism by which we can show that it's not only it's not toxic, but it bioenhancer is the word which is used for delivering other drugs to the system where it is needed. So the transmitting, understanding, and deriving or innovating Indian knowledge system is very important for modern times. And so one of the things that I did, I used my chemistry's knowledge or approach to Sanskrit. Bhasma means, Bha means Prakash, and Ma means to stop, which means it stops the sign of the metal. Sign of the metal is toxicity. And interestingly, is that there is Akshar and atom. It's also another chemistry thing. Atom means that cannot be broken down. Akshar also means cannot be broken down. So I used even that uh, commonality to show that, just like Akshar or atoms make molecules, so the Akshar makes words. And so you can have here I have Bhasma and Bhagya and Bhap that seem to be very consistent with each other. So Sanskrit itself is a science, in my opinion. So um, I'm just going to skip. Sorry, a little bit of time. Uh, there is a I'll maybe just at least introduce you. The drug development is no mostly structural in science. I do be my lab still works in it, but in Ayurveda is more of functional. Usko, you smell and you taste and things like that. It's more like a functional, and which is what I call it now. I have evolved myself from functional to sensory to tanmatra chemistry, and tanmatra is a very great integrated part of the Indian philosophy, in Sankhya philosophy, and it has a really wonderful scientific implications. So I think we need to understand. And I this year I was teaching my students in JNU Ayurvedic chemistry. It's interesting. Rasa
Yes.
the rasayan is the name
Can I
exactly of the chemistry.
can I
Yes,
interrupt Professor Balaram Singh?
yes,
We have a minute or two more. Just a
wonderful.
minute
Yeah,
or
I'll
two
finish.
more.
Yeah, I will finish. I will conclude in a minute. So what I'm saying here is that we have used the chemistry is connection to Ayurveda as a rasa, and I have my students working this. This is taken from Khushi Tripathi, one of the students who has submitted this about Tanmatra chemistry, and there is a so much knowledge of Tanmatra chemistry, so much interesting things that will be coming out. Every student is writing something on this line, and I'm calling it their Upanishad. So it will be Khushi Upanishad, what she's writing about it. And hopefully that will be useful in the future for knowledge. There are other aspects of life, like people have tension, communication, and all that. And I do not have time. I'm just going to skip all that, um, and then come to final slide where I want to yeah, conclude here, that I just talked about, the how the India was formed, how the yoga works, and its fundamental value is to be able to help others and keep your word. If you have those, then you can create a system where everybody is fairly treated and innovative and continue to create knowledge. And to do that, there is a question of dharma, not for governance, not for keeping the next generation, not for taking over the controlling legitimate claim by Indians to take the mantle of dharma. And I have written some part of it in a book called A Different Take. And some of you might be interested in looking at it, some of these ideas. So thank you very much for your giving me this opportunity. Some of my thoughts.
Thank you very much, Professor Balaram Singh. If there are questions, we can address them since he's online still. Any questions? Any comments? So thank you, Professor Balaram Singh, for this very, very interesting way that you have taken Ayurveda and interpreted it for the new generation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much
sir.
for giving me this opportunity.
Well, I think we think, Indians, we think in a cyclical way. The Atma is at the center and the forces go round. So beginning with what Professor Sudhir ji said this morning, we have here a reinterpretation of Ayurveda which is one of our traditional indigenous knowledge systems, and we have tried to reconstruct it, as Professor Balram Singh just said. It's a vyavasthikaran of a scientific way of interpreting, and hopefully it will not be colonized now, and we can still have the patent for Ayurveda with us. This, I think, is very important when we are talking about the Indian knowledge systems, that there is a need for a Jeen Uddhar. We must renovate it. We must once again finish the chapter of the colonial past, which was a burden, and get to the true essence of it. So now